Hey everybody, I am live in the Healing for Women Entrepreneurs group, and we are going to talk all about healing burnout. I am so excited to have you here today. I'm going to give it a minute to let you know that I am live. So I want to get all set up and make sure that I can see your comments and things like that. So if you're on, let me know that you're on. Say hello. If you're new to me, I am Angela. I am the founder of AsFreeAsYouSee. I am a breakthrough coach and a healer of queens. I help women heal trauma so that they can have thriving businesses. Hi, Heather. How are you? I am very excited to talk to you about this topic because I have experienced this in my life, both in my corporate job and in my actual business. I've owned a business for about 5 years. One business epically failed and I learned so much from it. I actually still keep the domain name for it, hoping that I'm going to do something else with it along the lines, maybe in the future. But I've been with AsFreeAsYouSee for about 4 years, and about a year and a half of those so if I've been in business for almost 4 years, I think it's been 5. I'm pretty sure 3 of those years have been failing. And I don't want to say that they're failing because I learned so much, and I don't want to freak anybody out that their business is going to go like that. It doesn't always go like that for everybody. It just went like that for me. And it went like that for me because I had to heal. There was no option for me. There was just no option for me. I had a lot of trauma that started from when I was 3 years old. The conditioning or grooming for it started when I was 2, and then it just kind of continued and continued and continued much until I was about 30 years old, because I was very much addicted to keeping my life in chaos. And I didn't know that until I started healing and realized that I had a lot of stuff going on, and it was actually preventing me from having a thriving business. So in the last 2 years, it has become very sustainable and successful for me. Do I want more? Yeah, of course. But it has totally and completely changed and taken off. And I'm really happy and proud of that. And now I feel like I can give that to you and serve you at this capacity. And I want to talk about burnout because when you're working on your own, we feel like we have to do every single thing all the time. And not only do we feel like we have to do every single thing all the time, we feel like we also have to follow somebody else's blueprint of how they became successful. So we must do what they're doing in order to become successful. And so we might do things like be on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and TikTok and Reels and I don't know what else is out there. Okay. But we're on these things, and plus we're writing emails and we're writing blogs and we're doing lives and we're doing all of these things, but nothing seems to be working for us. And that will, of course, eventually burn you out as well. So before we dive into what actually creates burnout and how to heal it, I'm going to share with you how to know if you are experiencing burnout, okay? You're going to know because you're going to feel unmotivated, even though I hate that and that's really BS, but you're going to feel unmotivated. You're not going to have any ideas running through you. You're going to not want to get out of bed. You're going to not want to do things that you normally do. You feel like you resent your business. You feel like you resent your audience. You feel like nothing is ever going right and you want to explode. You want to quit. You're exhausted all the time. You're probably experience sickness on and off. You probably push your body so hard that you end up in a medical crisis sometimes. I know that there are women that have pushed themselves to the brink that they are in the hospital because of burnout. I actually used to be so burnt out, and because I'm virtually healthy, I don't really get sick, which is funny because I got COVID. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. when I used to get my periods would be so bad that they would put me out of work for a week. And I know I've had problems with my period for a really long time. And I know that comes from my sexual trauma, but I would have these periods like this when I was working at my corporate job, because it was the only way that I would slow down, was that week where I was in bed praying that I never would have a period like this again, which is funny. And I don't know why I'm sharing this, but maybe someone needs to hear this. It's so funny because the last time I had a period that took me out of work for a week, I was praying to God, please do not let me have a period like this again. I can't take this anymore. I can't handle the pain. Please, please, please do not give me a period like this again. 2 weeks later, I kid you not, 2 weeks later, I was pregnant, and I've never had a period like that again. Because if I didn't get pregnant, I wouldn't have started healing, and I wouldn't have slowed down, and I wouldn't have altered my business, and I would just be the way that I was. And I know that for a fact. And I know that for a fact because I used to be, when I was working my corporate job, I used to do things like I would wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I would work out, do my self-care routine. I would work on my business, then go to work, come home, probably run, and then start working on my business until like 12 o'clock in the morning. And I would do that probably at least 3 days a week. And I would do that, and I would just run like that. And then it would get to the point where I was running like that like 5 days a week. And then I took the weekends off and I slept. So I knew that I was burning myself into the ground, no matter how you look at it or what I was doing. So that was the only time that I would ever slow down. It was the only time that I was ever really like put out of commission, if you will, aside from my depression that I experienced when I first left being a nanny. So I worked 2 jobs. I would go to my corporate job and work 40 hours. And then I would go to being a nanny, and I would work anywhere from 20 to 40 hours for them. And so I wouldn't stop. And we're going to go into why it was like that in a little bit, and you'll understand as well. So, but we do those things. I've done those things. So I've experienced the burnout. I've experienced how our body makes us slow down because we really are exhausted. We're exhausted at a soul level, emotionally and mentally. And sometimes we don't even realize it because we've been conditioned to believe that we're supposed to work all the time. And I don't believe that anymore. Heather says, haha, wow. Yes, I know. Careful what you wish for. Not that I didn't want, well, that's not true. I didn't want kids. It wasn't for me. I didn't want to pass down all my bullshit and my mom and stuff like that. And then when I got pregnant, I started to have these crazy dreams about dying, and it freaked me out. And so I reached out to my soul shaman, my mentor that I work with now. And she actually helped me and guided me and helped me heal. And then that's what sparked everything. So that's why I'm a huge believer in believing that healing must come first before your business, even though I didn't learn that until like 2 years in or something like that. So, but anyway, so that's a little bit of a history for me, at least as far as my corporate job goes. I also did very much where I was trying to fit into the mold, where somebody told me that this is how they became successful and how they reached 10K months, how they reached 20K months, how they reached 30K months. And so I did exactly what they were doing. Okay. So I was spread thin. I was creating content for everything. Okay. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, blogs, emails, this and that. And I was never actually doing what I needed to do to move my business forward because I was missing that piece of it. But I was also scared, and we'll save that for another day. But it wasn't working for me. It wasn't working for me to be so spread thin out and trying to force myself into a mold. It wasn't working for me at all. And it created so much burnout. I resented my business. I resented what I was doing in my business. And when I say resented my business, it was really about me. But we can talk about that another day. But I was burnt out. I was so burnt out that it got to the point where I decided I was slowing all the way down. And I mean all the way down. And all of a sudden ideas and things started to spark. And that's when I realized that slowing down and not working all the time was actually a key piece of running a business, especially creatively. And so I was just like, oh, this is working. I was making money while I was doing nothing. And then I started to realize that I had it all wrong. And without those burnouts and the denial and the meltdowns, I wouldn't be able to be right here and let you know that there is balance to the game. And it is very much about the ability to recognize when you are on the brink of burnout. And in the other day, I actually asked in other women groups that I was in, how do they prevent burnout? And there was this lady that posted, she schedules downtime, she schedules days off, when she's feeling off, she listens to things and she does these things, but everything is scheduled per hour, per moment, per day. And I said to her, does this work for you personally? And she said, yes. And she said, I have all this stuff going on and da 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 da. And I was like, well, I'm glad that it works for you. But that's actually what created my burnout, is feeling like I had to be so disciplined that things could never, ever, ever be off. And that is actually, to me, that is how corporate executives run their lives who are on the brink of burnout. People that feel like they cannot do anything outside their schedule because everything has to be so controlled are on the brink of burnout. I assure you they are. So did I want to invite her to the live? Of course I did. But I left it alone and let her know I just let her know I planted the seed, that's how my burnout was created. And I know that in about a year from now, it will probably happen for her. And that's okay. We all experience these things at a different time. Heather says, I've experienced burnout more than once. One time it was physically put on me on the couch for a week and I was fired from my job for being out too much. Yeah, it's so crazy how we want to acknowledge mental health, but only to an extent. A corporate job does not want to deal with an employee who is out too much, whatever the case may be, whether they're physically sick, whether they're mentally sick or whatever is going on, or they're just having off days or off periods in their life. We at corporate jobs do not want to acknowledge that. They don't want to deal with that. And I understand because it's costing them money. And, as much as we want to love our employees and we engage with our employees and we want them to be happy, there's also a fine line. So I get where they're coming from, but I also feel like it is important for these jobs to kind of get with the program and start to realize that these kinds of things happen where you're burnt out. And we'll get more into that. So I wanted to share a little bit about that because I want you to be aware of what burnout may potentially be. It's not always to the point where you're exhausted. It could be to the point where you're creatively out of juice and you don't know what to do and you're tired of things not working. And it could be that you feel like you have to control every little thing like I did, where everything was disciplined and everything was scheduled. And I was like that. I was so serious in everything that I did, and I never allowed any fun in my life until I started doing some inner child work. And we're going to actually get to that here in a little bit. So why does burnout happen, or what creates burnout? In my experience and in the work that I've done with women one-to-one and speaking to them personally and hearing their experiences, it happens because there's multiple things, but I'm going to talk about a few of them. It happens because first, we're avoidant and trying to escape our reality. So for some of us, that means that if our home life is not going the way that we want it, or our personal life is not feeling good, or we have things like trauma and history, we do things like dive deep into our work so that we can avoid and escape our reality, so that we don't have to slow down, so that we don't really have to live, so that we don't have to be present. So we focus on our work, because at work, and especially depending on where you're at your work, you're one person, and then at home, you're another. And so with this person, they're this specific person that is allowed to be in this escape from reality. And when you're this person, you're a totally different person, okay? We do it to avoid and escape our reality. We do it to avoid being present in our lives. And it's not something that actually happens. We don't like go to work and start working or working on our business with the intention that we're trying to escape our reality. It's easy. It's an outlet. It's just like if you were going to use it for or use drinking or drugs or social media or gambling or whatever the case is to avoid and escape your reality. It is very much like an addiction based from trauma. And it happens like this. We don't even realize it because most of the time at first we're very happy with our job and we love what we're doing. So we just do these things. We work all hours. We are on the call, or we're on call. We're on the clock all the time. We come in when everybody wants us to come in. We just don't think that about living our lives because most of the time we're chasing money, right? We're chasing money. We got to make that money. We got to make it come in. It doesn't matter if I'm sick, I got to get paid. It doesn't matter if I feel mentally exhausted, I got to get paid. That's what we're doing. We're creating this burnout because we're actually very much escaping our reality. We're trying to avoid what is going on in our personal life because it is much easier to avoid what is going on in our personal life than it is to deal with it, than it is to learn to be present, than it is to learn to heal your own stuff. It's very much easier to avoid and escape. And I know this to be true because I was like that. I worked my ass off so that I didn't have to deal with myself, so that I didn't have to deal with my trauma, so that I didn't have to deal with my conditioning, so that I didn't have to deal with my toxic relationships or whatever they were then. So I didn't have to deal with any of it. I didn't have to deal with my home life because I would work, 16 hours in a day, come home, take a shower, maybe eat, and then start all over. I did it to avoid and escape myself, okay? And it happens. And that is 100% completely okay. Okay that's where we're at. And that's fine until what happens is we end up in a physical situation where we have no other option but to slow down. We don't have another option. And then when we start to slow down, we start to realize that we're actually exhausted. We're exhausted physically, mentally, emotionally, and at a soul level, and we can't take it anymore, and something needs to change, right? And unfortunately, we don't just decide that we're going to change. We're forced into that change, okay? We are forced into that change where you're either going to continue your way down burnout or you're going to get with the program and realize something needs to change. And that's when you slow down. Okay, that's when you slow down. That is usually when you slow down. That's usually when you find balance. That's usually when you start to realize that you can make money and be in balance and you don't have to work and be disciplined all the time. Okay, and that was just specifically with my corporate job as far as avoiding and escaping. Another thing I want you to be aware of is that when you are so disciplined in your schedule that there is no room for mistakes, for things to run behind, for your children to be sick, for you to have a meltdown or a breakdown or whatever the case may be, feeling like you're frustrated, it is out of control. And we do this out of control because we fear we fear something, okay? For me, it's always been the fear of success. It has never been the fear of failure. I used to think that it was the fear of failure, but it never has been for me. It's actually been the fear of success. And most of us believe that we fear failure. However, we do not, because we've actually experienced failure at all levels at some point in time in our lives. Of course we have. So it's not that we fear failure. It's that we fear that we're going to be successful and whether or not we can sustain it. So I used to control everything that would not give me any type of wiggle room. So I had to fit everything into this time slot. And then when things wouldn't go right, things would go off, Aubrey would be sick, having tantrums, I would freak out. And then I would feel like I'm so stressed and having anxiety about getting these things done that needed to be done, that I would be working all hours of the day when she was asleep, or all hours of the night, because everything had to be done and it had to be done in this certain time. And I was burning myself out. And it's because I was in fear-based programming. I was not in a place of love or an alignment. Okay. And it does happen. We all have to, and if you've experienced any of these things, I'm not saying any of them to like judge you or say, how dare you? I'm sharing these things with you so that you're aware that this is what's going to create burnout, so that you can take a step back and look. Okay. So that you can take a step back and realize these things. So I was really avoiding and escaping dealing with my fear that was about control. I thought it was just discipline, okay, which I'm really good at. But then I started to realize that it was really, really about fear. 100% totally about fear. And when I realized that, that's when I started to slow down and have fun and started to very much heal my inner child, which we'll get to here in a little bit. So that's one thing that we do that creates burnout. Another thing that we do is we are not present in our bodies and how we feel, and present with our soul and ourselves. We are so disconnected from ourselves that we don't know when things feel off. Okay. And I'll give you an example. I seriously just experienced this the other day, is that I've been preparing all week long that I'm going to do this live and create this course that is going to be on healing burnout. So the course is called Balance to Burnout, right? And I was creating it and I was feeling abnormally stressed. Okay. I don't normally feel stress. I know that there's some things that happen and I do, but I don't normally feel stress anymore. I don't normally feel anxiety. I usually am very laid back, chill type of vibe. Okay. And I fell off. I was having anxiety in my chest and I was feeling really weird. Well, then I realized that I was not aligned with doing the course. And so as soon as I realized that I was not aligned with doing the course and decided that I wasn't going to do the course, my whole body went back into its alignment, went back into homeostasis, went back into feeling normal for me. What we've been conditioned is to not believe anything that our emotions are sending us. The signals that they're sending us, they're just emotions. We're crazy. There's something wrong with us. Because we have been so disconnected from our bodies and being present in our bodies and feeling our emotions, it actually prevents us from realizing that we're burnt out. Prevents us from realizing that we're not aligned with the work that we're doing, prevents us from realizing that we're probably meant to be doing something else, or that we need to heal at this other level so that we can be aligned with what we truly want to do. Heather asks, can burnout happen if you are also doing something that you're not aligned for? Yes. Yes. And I feel like I just talked about that. So it absolutely can happen. If you're not aligned with your work and you are not listening to your body, if you're not present in your body, you're not going to do that. And eventually you will. You'll be burnt out. You'll hate going to work. You won't want to be there. You'll call in sick all the time. That is also what burnout looks like. That I typed that just before you explained that. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that so crazy? I totally answered that question before I read it. So, but yes, you absolutely can be. That's why I believe that it is so critical for healing to take place first so that you can be aligned with the work that it is that you do. And I know everybody in here is either an entrepreneur or aspiring to be an entrepreneur. So if you're working and you're not aligned with that work, it is going to create burnout. It will happen. It will happen. You will eventually hate your work. And that's not what you want. If you expect to have sustainable success, you must be aligned with the work that you are doing. If you are not aligned with the work that you are doing, it will create burnout. It may not be tomorrow. It may not be a month from now. It might be a year from now. It might be 2. But eventually it will burn you out because you know deep down inside of you something is off and you're doing something that you know that is not right for you. And we know that because our body is sending us signals all the time. Our emotions are sending us signals all the time about what it is that we're doing. And if you're not listening to your body, if you're not being present in your body, then it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You will eventually burn out. You don't want to run your life like an executive. You just don't. And it's because they don't have any time to live. And I don't know about you, but I didn't sign up to be an entrepreneur to not enjoy my freedom. That was 100% one of the biggest parts about taking the leap of faith and not having any savings and not having any way of knowing how I was going to make any income and just diving off the cliff, was so that I could be in freedom, so that I can enjoy my freedom, so that I can live my life. That was 100% part of it. And sometimes we are not living because we don't realize that we are just on this cycle. We're just on this cycle, which actually brings me to my next point. Burnout is also created by conditioning. And it's created by conditioning because all of our lives, every single one of us, unless you had a parent that was different, I guess you could say, but all of us have been conditioned that you go to school and you go to college, right? And you take the traditional route and then you get a job. Despite what it is that you want to do with your life, despite what it is that you feel or what you thought you were going to do, your job as a citizen of the world is to go to school, go to more school. And depending on which job you decide to pick, you're going to go to more school, and then you're going to work, and then you buy a house, and then you get married, and then you have a happy family. And that's how things are supposed to be. And then you just go to work, no matter how much you hate it, no matter how miserable it makes you, no matter how much you hate dealing with the traffic. That's just what you do. And in addition to that, if you are not always productive, doing something like cleaning, doing something like working or going out for a walk or being active or healthy, that's not productive. And if you're not productive, you're lazy. Okay? This creates burnout. Feeling like you always are supposed to be doing something. You're always supposed to be working. You're always supposed to follow the traditional route. That 100% creates burnout. And we learn it from, one, our system, but also two, from our parents or caregivers. And we learn it from them because they're the ones that are telling us if they are on that burnout track and they are on that traditional route, then they very much feel the same way, that if you're not doing anything productive, then you're being lazy. And if you're being lazy, then you're not a productive member of society, and then you're a piece of shit. And it's like, right? And then you feel guilty for not doing things and living your life and going on vacation and taking days off because you've had this conditioning your entire life and didn't even realize, you don't understand why you feel guilty. Well, it's because society deems you a bad person because you're not doing something, when in reality, we are not meant to be working all the time. We are not meant to be on speed that we are on all the time. Okay, we're not. No, we are not. We are supposed to slow down. We are supposed to be present. We are supposed to be enjoying our lives and living it, instead of being in this track where the only thing you do is just run on autopilot your entire life. And you don't have to do that. And I stress both cases with you because most of us associate burnout with a corporate job. But the reality is that if you're not slowing down in your business to enjoy your freedom and to enjoy your life, you will be very much on the same path that you could have potentially been in a corporate job. You do not want to run your business like an executive. You do not. You do not. You want balance. So much yes. Good. I love that. I love that. So you want to be aware of your conditioning and everything that you picked up. If you ever take time off and it feels guilty for you, even if you take time off and it's in your scheduled time off and you feel guilty, there's something much deeper going on. There's something much deeper going on. Okay, when I'm going to tell you how to heal this or how to take care of this, I'm not going to give you some superficial BS answer that people tell you how you're going to take care of burnout, like doing self-care or your schedule and streamline everything and do all these things. Okay, if you go, I asked how people heal burnout or how people deal with burnout or prevent burnout, and that's what they were telling me. And all of that stuff is great, okay? All of that stuff, it will help you prevent burnout. It will help you sustain in your business, but it is not going to keep you from going back to that lifestyle, avoiding and escaping and not being present with yourself and your emotions and not breaking through your conditioning that you've picked up as a child or your entire life or whatever the case may be. You're not going to break through it, okay? I can sit here until I'm blue in the face and tell you, have a self-care routine. Make sure you streamline everything. Make sure you schedule things. Of course, I'm pretty sure we already know that, right? We already know that. What I'm trying to create for you is so that you don't have to ever deal with burnout ever, okay? Since the last time that I tried to force myself into a box, I have never had to deal with burnout again. And it is because I live a balanced life. And by balance, I mean I have a structure, okay? And this was going to be in the course that I decided not to make. And eventually I'm sure I will put it out, but it wasn't for right now. But you want to have a structure, okay? A structure is very much about masculine energy. Okay, and masculine energy is about the provider, the doer. And then you want to have the feminine energy so that you can flow. See, here's your structure, right? You're going to flow in that structure. And the way for you to flow in that structure is very much to be in your feminine energy. Be confident. Be in your body. Be present. Be in the receiving end. Okay, you want to be in the do, and you also want to be in the receiving end, okay? The do, be, and the do sounded so weird. But anyway, you want to have both. You don't want to have one or the other. One or the other will create zero results for you, or if you are getting the results, you will eventually burn out and it's not really what you want to do, okay? It will happen. That is what you want to do, okay? You want the balance. You want to make sure that you have some type of schedule or things that you need to be doing. And then you also allow yourself to be present and to live and to receive. Okay. The receiving part is very important. Now that I touch base on that, if that sounds terrible for you, if that's triggering, if you struggle with receiving, if you only know how to do, but you don't know how to be present and slow down and be in your body, I assure you it's because of conditioning. Because conditioning has come over and told you that you're not allowed to depend on anybody. You're not allowed to slow down. You always have to work. I have a hair in my eye, I'm sorry. You always have to hustle. You have to grind it out. You always have to be doing something, because if you don't, that means that you're lazy and you don't want to be seen as lazy, and what will people think? And it's going to be all these huge things. And the truth is that conditioning has stuck with you, whether or not you realize that it's stuck with you. And it's stuck with you because depending on how your caregivers were, they've conditioned you into that, and they have stayed with you. They have stayed with you even if you haven't talked to your parents in years. Even if you have done all the healing of everything else, like a lot of people tell me that they've done all the healing, but they still experience trouble with fear and showing up and getting online and going live and doing those things. The truth is that there is still a lot more healing to be done if you are so afraid to take risks that you let fear take over. That's how you know that a lot of healing needs to be done. What I want to present to you today is an amazing course that will 100% heal your burnout. It will heal your burnout because it's going to wipe out the conditioning that you've experienced as a child and through our system that is telling you that you have to work all the time, that you have to run on this schedule, that you should be scheduling your downtime, that you are an entrepreneur and you supposedly have all this freedom, but you don't get to experience it. You don't get to live in any of it. I'm presenting to you the Inner Child Healing course that was live just like an hour ago, that is going to be on pre-sale for you for $97, and you can pick it up right now with the pre-sale. You will have access to the course by Sunday. And also though, the pre-sale for the course at $97 will be gone by Sunday. So if you don't take this opportunity to get it at $97, it will be at $397 by Monday. But this will take care of your burnout. Not only will this take care of your burnout, but it will help you deal with the conditioning that you've experienced. It will help you be more present, and it will help you feel like you're allowed to fully and completely be yourself. Because we have broken from pieces of ourselves that, that to keep us safe, that's actually preventing us from fully showing up as all of us online and in our business. And so I'm going to leave the link for you if you want to, wrong thing. I'm going to leave the link for you if you are very much interested in having this course so that you can heal burnout permanently. Okay, hold on. I don't have any idea what I'm doing. Oh, I didn't finish the link. Way to go. Okay, it looks great. Okay. That's so funny. Okay. All right. Okay, so there's the link to get in on the Inner Child Healing course. There's 7 modules. I thought there was 6. There's 7 modules plus bonus meditations and plus coaching time in there. So if you're interested in getting rid of burnout forever and not falling trapped into the conditioning and coming into balance, I highly recommend that you check out the Inner Child Healing course. It will be available to you. If you buy the pre-sale, it will be available to you on Sunday so that you can get that automatically and then start digging into that so that you can absolutely let go of burnout. You don't want to be in burnout anymore. You want to be in balance. And sometimes that means that it's not about necessarily self-care or streamline or scheduling. It's about learning to be present with yourself and facing yourself and doing that inner work so that you no longer do things that burn you out, so you feel comfortable doing nothing, so that you feel good about doing nothing. And we have gotten so far away from feeling good about doing nothing and just taking a walk in nature that we forget that it's even there. And yet it's one of the most beautiful things that we ever experience on a daily basis, yet we're missing it. We're missing it. We're missing how beautiful the sky is when the sun goes down or when the sun comes up, or how beautiful it is to walk in nature and just hear nothing but the birds. We have forgotten how to slow down, and we have forgotten how to slow down because we have been very much conditioned to believe that we're not allowed to slow down. And if we do slow down, we won't create what we want. And that's not true. It's absolutely not true. You want to come into balance. And if you're struggling with coming into balance and how to actually make that happen in your life, this course is for you. This course is for you, and I invite you to take action now before the price goes up. So I know, oh, it's 11:11. How do you like that? Okay, so I know that that was a lot to take in. So if you have any questions, bring them on. I want to hear them. We have about, if it's 11:11, we have what, 19 minutes left? I don't know. 19 minutes left before I am going to hop off. So if you have any questions about burnout, about the course, anything like that, you can leave them. If you're watching the replay, please leave your questions. Please leave your aha moments. Please, if you have questions about the course, make sure you leave them. Remember that we don't just burn out because that's how it happened. Just like an addiction, there is a reason behind it. And it's usually because we are trying to avoid and escape our reality. It's because we're not present with ourselves and because of our conditioning. Those are some serious things that we have been put into and don't realize that that's actually what is creating the burnout. We take it because it's the stress, when in reality, the stress is the signal from our body letting us know that we are not in alignment. We really do think it's just stress. We need to slow down. Of course we need to slow down, but we also have to know how to slow down. And if you don't know how to slow down, that's the bigger issue. And usually we don't know how to slow down because we've got pain and trauma and abuse that we're trying to pretend doesn't hurt us. And that's what I would love to take out of everybody so that everybody knew how to do this. Okay. If there aren't any questions, I appreciate you showing up and coming on. I love that you're watching the replay. If you have any questions about the course, any questions about burnout and how to heal burnout, please leave them. I will get back to you. If that's all, there's no questions or anything like that, I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a great weekend and a great day. Thanks for the live. You're so welcome. I actually really was, I have to tell you guys a secret. I didn't know how passionate I was about burnout until I was like, this is why burnout happened. Till the other day when I asked about how to prevent burnout, and people were saying like systems and self-care and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, I'm absolutely passionate about this. And then I felt like it was really passionate in the live. I felt a little bit nervous about going live on it because it's not something that I normally talk about. And then I really just clicked that really it's because we do these things, and that's why burnout happened. And these things that I talked about avoiding and escaping and not being present and conditioning, that stuff I talk about all the time. So, but anyway, that's a little tangent. I appreciate you being on here. I hope that you have a great day and a great weekend. Again, if you're watching the replay, let me know that you're watching the replay. If you have questions, leave them. If you want to get in contact with me to ask me personally about the course, please do that. I hope to see you around, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.